So, case in point of why we're trying to build this, I'm washing salmon. I just threw away the package, the paper and plastic, and actually both my hands were dirty. And look, I can't open it. Open! I use my foot.
Oscar's hungry.
I use my foot and I can't barely get this foot in here. And then I gotta pull this out. But the closing with a knee is not a problem. So these are our original requirements for Oscar the Garbage Butler. Ordered in priority from left to right, left having the highest priority. The most important feature was hands-free operation. And this is really the entire point. We want to be able to get to the garbage from its stored location under the sink without having to without having to grasp the door handle. And the trigger for opening the door, we thought, could be done with either a motion sensor or a foot pedal. The motion sensor, we're thinking, would be something that would be triggered by our foot. The foot pedal, obviously, is something we'd step on, and that would either close a switch or potentially open a pneumatic valve, or the other option we thought of is it could be connected to a cable which would then control a spring or open a latch or something of that nature. So a direct mechanical connection. The next most important feature was that it would be easy to clean. In our initial drawings, we looked at how we had positioned motors and springs and realized that there's a chance we'd get food stuck in some of the hardware. So we wanted to make sure that all of the hardware that was part of the design to actually open and close the door was out of the way of the path of garbage. We didn't want to worry about having to clean garbage, rotting food out of springs and motors and that sort of thing. The next two features are really interrelated, and they have to do with the usability of the system. So we did some videoing of opening and closing the door to the garbage, and decided that we needed to be able to open the door within 2 seconds, and we would want the door to close within 2 seconds. And we thought that any longer time than 2 seconds, though it seems like a small amount of time, we felt that we would start to get impatient. We would tend to get annoyed with the system if it took longer than what we're used to in terms of how we open and close the door today. In terms of the capacity, we decided to design the system to support what we thought would be an exorbitant amount of garbage, something that we would rarely ever, if ever, hit. And we figured 8 pounds, or roughly the weight of a gallon of milk, would probably be the most we could ever imagine putting in our garbage can. And when we've lifted our garbage out in the past, it's never been, I believe, over 4 pounds, and that's a big day. So in order to support these two features, we thought we were going to need to do some testing. We really didn't have a single solution. We thought we could do it potentially with motors, although we wanted to avoid motors since that seemed to imply we would need motor control and really more electronics than we felt were warranted for this particular project. Pneumatics looked interesting, and so early on we thought that they might be useful and an elegant solution, but we really hadn't used pneumatics. We don't have any pneumatic devices, and we've never actually built anything with pneumatics. So this was a big puzzle for us. And springs also, while sort of low tech, seemed like a pretty interesting option in the sense that they're purely mechanical, and we would have some fine-grained analog control. We could apply tension or pressure on the door with our own body weight, and therefore not have to design something. We could apply the necessary force to meet our 2-second requirement and to deal with the weight requirement without having to over design the system using, let's say, a motor controller. So we thought springs would work well, but we didn't have much of an idea of how we would do this at first. This was our original idea. Basically, we have a foot pedal, which at this point in our brainstorm, we hadn't figured out exactly how it was going to open the door, but the idea was a foot pedal that would open this cabinet door under the sink, and then we would have our waste bin slide out on a set of drawer slides, and this whole operation needed to happen within 2 seconds. And at this point, we hadn't figured out how we would get the drawer slide to retract and the door to close automatically. So it was a bit of a mystery. We ended up doing additional brainstorming and decided that what would make more sense would simply be to attach the can to the door itself. So we came up with this design where we mounted the can to the back of the door, had a little support frame that would be screwed in, and the mechanics would be done with some magnetic latches and a spring-loaded hinge. So the magnetic latch, the idea is that when you depress it, this little piston comes out, and then that would push the door open. And the spring-loaded hinge, we did some research and found hinges that effectively will open, or they'll either go into the open or closed position, and you can adjust the tension by, this isn't an actual spring-loaded hinge CAD drawing, it's just a hinge, but you can adjust the tension by using a hex key or an Allen key, and then setting a pin in a certain position. Basically, the harder you crank back and the further along the axis you place the pin, the more tension you can put into the spring itself. So what we weren't sure about when we went into this, our prototyping, is whether the actual tension in the spring could overcome, or if it would overcome the magnetic field from these latches. We weren't sure if these magnetic latches would actually keep the door closed. So we got two, thinking we might need two. We also weren't sure how to set the tension. We didn't want the door to swing open and hit something or the garbage to go flying out. So we had a lot of questions to answer in our prototyping phase. Okay, so this is our first experiment to see if the magnetic latch will work. We're going to push in, and looks like now at this point we'd have a spring to open it. Now if we're going to lock it, all right, so it's not locking. So I think we need to adjust the position of the magnetic latch.
Yeah.
Okay, here is the test 2. Push in, and let's see if we can lock it. No. Can't lock it. There we go. Good old drywall screws. This is moving around. I wonder if this being unstable.
Could this be? Is it hitting? See where the.
I don't think so. I think it's pushing.
No, but see, look at this. This magnet comes out. It kind of flings out a little bit.
What do you mean?
Like it comes in this way. Look at it in relationship to the magnet. Now try.
You mean it? Hey, all right, it works. So maybe one defective one. This thing doesn't seem to lock. Sometimes it locks. I don't know, now it seems to be working. Again, Snip's cutting wood. I never thought about doing that, but it's actually pretty useful. Okay, so that should be enough to give us clearance. Here, let me come on this side. For the hinge, we need to bring the hinge off the door. So that, something like this. This is definitely not how this is designed. I'm still not sure how this is, if this is going to work.
And the reason why we're doing this is because the hinge needs some clearance.
Okay, so we added the tension to the spring-loaded hinge. Come over here. There's the spring-loaded hinge. We basically use this Allen key to pull it back. You can see the little pin there. So this is just providing just a little bit, and it's not fully seated. I guess you have to hammer that thing in to make it, to finish it. All right, so here's our test. The knee, opening it, and then it gives it just a little momentum to open. So we don't know, and then the magnetic latch seems to hold it closed. I don't know, I'm not sure if I like the knee, but it seems to work. Trash in, and then just gently close it. That's pretty good. It is hands-free.
And we don't.
This hinge thing,
Not
it's obviously not the right look for the kitchen, but gives us some idea. All right, so we have our can mounted. We have a 2x4 with some drywall screws and a little bracket there. And I can pull this out, you can see that. And then what we did is we just jerry-rigged some 1/4-inch plywood, a little screw there, to seat our trash can in. See if I can get this back in. There we go. All right, and
So for extra additional weight, because it was a really, really, really big night cooking, we're gonna put 5 pounds in there to see if it'll open. Okay.
okay, so the magnetic latch is
Oh, we have
holding.
so much more trash.
It's swinging way open. So maybe we need to have a spring tension.
Okay.
And let's see. The good thing, oh, there, this magnet seems to be strong enough to hold the spring back. So I feel like we can bring the spring, yeah, I can reduce the tension. All right, let's reduce the tension.
Okay. Now it was even more trash because we ate a lot. It's a good dinner. Oscar is hungry, so let's give him 8 pounds. I think this would be about the max that a plastic bag could hold and that I would want to carry.
But wait, there's one more thing to throw away. Let's throw away this little half-ounce thing. Oh, it opens no problem. So these hinges have plenty of strength because they're used even at that very low spring setting. And the amazing thing is this magnetic, well, I was going to say, it latch holds. It keeps, it's strong enough to overcome the tension on the spring, which is, we weren't sure about. So that's a great result from this prototype.
Yeah. And good old IKEA bathroom cabinet that was repurposed for the garage, which is now repurposed for this fun project.
So we thought maybe we don't even need a spring-loaded hinge. So taking the spring out, let's see if it opens. We don't need a spring-loaded hinge.
Yeah, until we're on an even surface though, because this floor isn't even.
Okay.
The level.
This level is 20. Okay,
Yeah.
it's way out of level.
Yeah.
Let's wedge this thing in here. See if we can get this thing level. Okay, we've re-leveled it. Now let's see if we can get the door open without the springs. Okay, so definitely the whole thing was out of level, and that was helping it open. So it looks like in our actual kitchen, whoops. Yeah, and then it closes again. And I'm wondering if why is it closing?
The weight? We have 8 pounds in there.
Yeah, let's take the weight out.
Oh.
Maybe the door is not. Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, this thing has been through.
Is it possible the hinge itself wants to pull it? All right, so we put the old hinges in, and we're going to test out with the old hinges. Okay, and so the problem is that these hinges, they actually are this cushioned close. They actually want to pull the door in past a certain point, and that's not enough. The momentum from opening the magnetic latch, the spring in there, isn't enough to overcome that. So the other option is we could actually replace these hinges with something that doesn't do the silent close, right? We just take these are effectively they're spring loaded, so we take out this European hinge and we replace it with another one without that spring tension pulling it back. I think that may do it, and I think we have some of those in our old cabinet hinges.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can take one of those old hinges and put it down here.
So just wanted to explain, we originally thought we would do a kick pad, and then we would also have something that would come out. One of the issues that came up that was for me, not just the aesthetics part, but was really the cleanliness part. So, but if we had a kickboard that came out with the trash can on there, it could be more of an issue with stuff kind of getting underneath and having to clean. And then how would you disassemble it with ease to be able to clean if some food kind of fell down. So this seems like it's the easiest and cleanest, and we can actually go taller if we wanted to. This is just the one that we had in the garage that we could use. So I like this idea from a cleanliness point of view as well, since I'm the one who generally cleans the old cabinetry.